Reimagine Leadership, Unlocking Human Potential and Organizational Brilliance. I'm Dr. Carol Talbot, and first of all, I'd like you just to close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping into complete, unbroken darkness. No light, no distractions, no reference points. Now at first your mind races, searching for familiarity, and slowly the stillness sets in. And it's in this void something incredible begins to happen. You start to see, and not with your eyes. You start to see with your inner vision. You begin to feel your surroundings, not through touch, but through heightened perception. Welcome to the hidden power of the unseen. In this episode, you'll explore something most leaders rarely talk about, the power of darkness. Now, not metaphorical darkness, literal, all-encompassing darkness. I'll be unravelling why darkness isn't just an absence of light, it's a fertile space for insight, growth and transformation, travelling through forgotten wisdom, scientific discoveries, and my own personal experiences in complete darkness. So whether you're a leader of teams, a visionary entrepreneur, or simply someone navigating your own path, prepare to reimagine your relationship with the unseen, and let's step into the void together. We live in a culture obsessed with light. From fluorescent bulbs to smartphone screens, you're flooded with artificial illumination nearly 24 hours a day. And this constant exposure may keep you productive, and it comes at a cost: physiological, psychological, and perceptual. Chronic exposure to artificial light, particularly blue light emitted by screens, has been shown to suppress melatonin production, disrupt circadian rhythms, as well as impair sleep quality. Now, most people know melatonin as the hormone that helps you sleep, and of course it's serotonin that wakes you up, right? Well, melatonin is more than just a sleep hormone. It's actually one of the most powerful antioxidants in the human body, playing a key role in cell repair, immune function, and DNA integrity. So without sufficient darkness, your biology can't properly reset, and neither can your mind. Leadership today often mirrors this overexposure, always on, so to speak, always in performance mode, addicted to brightness, clarity, certainty. However, true leadership isn't about being constantly visible. It's about having the courage to enter the unknown, to navigate nuance, and to sit with uncertainty. Darkness offers that gift, and while some may think of it as emptiness, it's actually a field of pure potential. So just as seeds germinate in the dark soil and stars are born in the void of space, leaders are often forged in their darkest hours. So let me share an extraordinary real-world example. In the remote Sierra Nevada mountains of Colombia, the Koji and Arhuaca tribes raise a chosen few to become what they call mamos, spiritual leaders of their communities. From birth, these children are kept in complete darkness for the first 9 years of their lives. Why, you may be asking? Because in the absence of visual distraction, their inner senses awaken. They learn to perceive the energetic fabric of reality, to listen beyond sound, and to sense without sight. And these children emerge expanded. They become visionaries, diplomats, wisdom keepers, and their leadership is not shaped by light, but by their deep intimacy with darkness. So let me ask you, what if darkness is not something to escape? It's something to enter intentionally. And what if your next level of leadership isn't about standing in the spotlight, but about seeing more clearly in the dark. My own encounter with this truth came during a 10-day darkroom retreat in Thailand several years ago, guided by Jasmaheen. She's a pioneer in source feeding and expanded states of consciousness. So for 10 nights and 10 days, I lived in total, impenetrable darkness. I literally couldn't see my hand if I held it up in front of my face. Now, of course, at first I felt disorientated, stripped of sight. I was stripped of certainty. Yet gradually, something deeper began to emerge, perceptual expansion. I began to see, and not with my eyes. I began to hear, and not through sound. It was as if a new kind of intelligence came online. Now, this isn't just mystical experience. It's actually now supported by science. In sensory deprivation studies, researchers have found that the brain, when freed from external stimuli, enters altered states of awareness. Neuroplasticity increases, melatonin production surges, and the default mode network associated with rumination begins to quiet. And as for melatonin, well, in these conditions, it becomes a neuroregenerative agent, not only inducing rest, but repairing DNA, reducing stress, and recalibrating brain chemistry. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Your perception of light and color is also altered in the dark, permanently, even if subtly. In psychology, there's actually an experiment where participants wear color-tinted glasses, say red, green, yellow, or blue, for extended periods. Now, over time, their brains adapt to the new filter, and when the glasses are removed, then the world appears briefly tinged in the opposite color. So it's a kind of perceptual detox. Now, the same is true for how you adapt to overstimulation. So after long exposure to light and noise, true darkness can actually feel uncomfortable at first. In fact, many people have a healthy degree of fear around darkness, and yet it ultimately reveals how distorted our baseline has become. So now think about this. You often wear tinted glasses in business, and those tints could be biases, expectations, pressures, identity roles. So darkness, in the literal and metaphorical sense, removes the lens. It offers leaders a rare opportunity to recalibrate, to see without filters, and to reconnect to the unfiltered truth of who they are and what they stand for. So leadership in the dark is not about seeing less, it's about seeing what's been hidden all along. One of the most profound lessons I've learned from embracing darkness, both metaphorically and literally, is that it strips away illusion. When you're in complete darkness, there's nowhere to hide. You can't distract yourself with sights, screens, or superficial problems. All that remains is you, your thoughts, your dreams, your truth, and yes, your fears. So let's address the elephant in the room, fear. Now, not just fear of monsters under the bed, but the far more pervasive kind, fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, or fear of losing control. And these are the quiet saboteurs of leadership. They live in the unseen, and they're amplified in the dark. Because darkness, after all, is the perfect metaphor for the unknown. And the unknown is exactly where every meaningful act of leadership begins. In ancient Greece, initiates of the Eleusinian mysteries would descend into pitch-black caves, and sometimes for days. This wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. True wisdom, they believed, was born in the absence of external stimuli, in the space where illusions die and the self is revealed. In the Taoist tradition, Darkness was not feared, it was revered. Sages would enter cave retreats for 7, 21, even 100 days, not to escape the world, to access truth beyond appearances. The body resets, the pineal gland activates, the illusions of ego dissolve, and from this space, new clarity emerges. So fast forward to the boardroom, and the darkness looks different, yet it's no less confronting. Maybe proposing a disruptive innovation when the safer path is maintaining the status quo. Delegating a mission-critical task when you're used to control. Or choosing transparency and vulnerability over appearances of competence. Or even walking away from a successful, yet soul-draining venture without knowing what comes next. Science agrees. Research from Harvard Business Review shows that leaders who embrace uncertainty and remain grounded in ambiguity are far more likely to build resilient, creative teams. Why? Because fear is not the problem. It's how you relate to fear that is the problem. Now, most people respond to fear by either over-controlling, like micromanagement, perfectionism, reactivity, or even withdrawing through avoidance, indecision, deflection. Now, of course, over-controlling or withdrawing are both symptoms of being uncomfortable in the dark. Leaders who can hold steady in that space, who can feel the tension of not knowing, yet stay present, they become conduits for collective transformation. Here's the paradox. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the invitation. It signals the edge of your known identity. It marks the boundary between comfort and evolution. So the question is, will you pull back or will you step in? Because it's in the dark, when you can no longer rely on external reference points, that your internal compass awakens. So what decisions are you delaying because the outcome isn't guaranteed? What ideas are you censoring because they feel too risky? And what part of your leadership still fears the dark? The next level of your impact lies in your capacity to move through the unknown, not by eliminating fear, but maybe becoming intimate with it. Because when you lean into fear consciously, you discover something deeper than courage. You discover clarity born of stillness and leadership born of truth. Now, darkness isn't just symbolic, it's also biological. And when you enter it consciously, you activate an entirely different operating system, one that modern science is only just beginning to understand. So let's begin with the neurochemistry and go back to melatonin. As I implied earlier, in extended darkness, melatonin levels can increase up to 10-fold, initiating a cascade of DNA repair, mitochondrial regeneration, and cellular detoxification. It's a master antioxidant, clearing oxidative stress and recalibrating your circadian rhythm at the very deepest level. Then comes the pineal gland, often referred to as the seat of the soul. In total darkness, this tiny gland in the center of the brain is no longer suppressed by artificial light, so it becomes active, even luminous, producing endogenous DMT compounds such as 5-MeO-DMT, which are linked to expanded awareness, deeper inner vision, as well as profound moments of insight. By the third day of my own darkroom retreat, I began to see patterns of light behind closed eyes. It was like an internal aurora borealis moving across the canvas of my mind. Not hallucinations, this was inner sight, a kind of waking dream state where new intelligence began to emerge, unfiltered by the physical senses. A 2022 study in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience on extended sensory deprivation found that participants experienced heightened inner body awareness, increased alpha and theta brainwave activity, and spontaneous moments of creative ideation and spiritual insight. So darkness, it turns out, doesn't shut the system down. It actually switches it on. It removes distraction, purifies perception, and activates the deeper technologies of human consciousness. So the question becomes, what might you access, not with your eyes, but with your essence, when you step beyond the visible? So let's go deeper into cultivating inner vision. In the absence of outer light, the inner light awakens. And this is not poetic metaphor, it's a cognitive recalibration. Sensory deprivation research shows that when visual input is removed, the brain recruits other regions to enhance non-visual perception. So in darkness, the brain begins constructing reality from subtle internal signals, intuitive hunches, vibrational cues, emotional impressions. So you begin to see differently. Leadership so often over-relies on external data, dashboards, reports. And what happens when the data isn't clear? When the path ahead hasn't been paved? When the market shifts unpredictably? Well, that's when inner vision becomes essential. This is what Steve Jobs called connecting the dots looking backward. It's what Indigenous elders called seeing with the heart. And it's the capacity to sense alignment, timing, resonance, without needing full visibility. And this is where true visionaries emerge. Not because they see more with their eyes, it's because they trust what is felt beneath the noise. So inner vision is not fantasy, it's perceptual intelligence. And it's forged not in the boardroom, but in the spaces between, in the dark, in the pause, in the places where no one else is looking. So is darkness a strategy? Well, in today's hyper-stimulated world where notifications replace reflection and reaction outpaces wisdom, darkness becomes more than a spiritual metaphor. It becomes a strategic necessity. Conscious leaders are discovering what mystics have always known. The greatest clarity often comes in the quietest space. So darkness as a strategic leadership tool means stepping back before launching forward, disconnecting from inputs to tune into intuition, and letting silence speak, especially in decision-making. So in the business world, this could look like taking off-grid retreats to recalibrate vision, hosting no-screen meetings for deeper presence, or instituting quiet hours for strategy versus execution. Think of it like this. If light exposes what's already visible, then darkness reveals what has yet to be imagined. And that's what makes darkness profoundly innovative. It offers the terrain of the unseen market, the unspoken truth, the undiscovered model, the quiet breakthrough no one else saw coming. And in a world addicted to visibility, the boldest leaders dare to navigate the unseen. So how can you, as a modern leader, begin to work with darkness, and not as something to fear, more as a tool to refine perception, strategy, and even presence? Well, here are 3 powerful practices to begin integrating the wisdom of darkness into your leadership rhythm. The first one is digital darkness. Designate one evening a week to completely disconnect from screens and artificial light. Power down your devices, dim the lights, and let your nervous system decompress. Modern research shows that just 1 hour of darkness before bed can actually increase melatonin levels, improve your sleep quality, and restore parasympathetic balance, which is critical for decision-making, empathy, and long-term resilience. And here's another suggestion here. Use candles instead of lamps, and notice how your thoughts slow, how your presence deepens, and how your intuition gets louder. The second practice is silent stillness. Carve out 60 minutes each week of uninterrupted silence. No music, no books, no distractions, just you, your breath, and your thoughts. Now, in this space, the noise of the world fades, and what's truly important rises to the surface. So this is more than mindfulness. It's strategic clarity training. Studies from MIT and Stanford actually show that silence improves neural integration, creative problem solving, and long-term memory consolidation. So ask yourself, what am I hearing in the stillness that I've been too busy to notice? The third practice is a dark immersion experience. For those ready to go deeper, maybe consider a guided dark retreat, even for just 48 hours. And I'd be happy to be your guide. I've run these before. And these intentional immersions reset your biological rhythms, recalibrate your pineal gland, and they offer you a mirror with no distortion. So what I can guarantee is you'll emerge clearer, lighter, and far more attuned to your own truth. So think of it as a vision reset retreat, not just for your team, but for the visionary behind it. Rather than diminish your leadership, darkness actually enhances it. It distills the signal from the noise. It reconnects you to the place within where clarity precedes action. So let me leave you with this. Diamonds are not created in light. They're forged deep beneath the earth, in pressure, in stillness, and also in absolute darkness. It's in those hidden, unseen layers that carbon crystallizes into one of the most brilliant, enduring, and valuable forms on Earth. And your leadership is no different. The brilliance you seek, the clarity, the confidence, the breakthrough, it's not found by running toward more light, more information, or more activity. It's found when you have the courage to sit in the void, in the unknown, in the dark. Because darkness isn't where things end. It's where the most profound transformations begin. So let me leave you with this question. Are you willing to lead with your eyes closed and your awareness wide open?